Indigo, I think since we have a little more time, maybe we could share some personal stories about moments that really convinced us that summer camp was, the New Culture Summer Camp was amazing. Obli, I wonder if you have one.
Uh, sure. Yeah. 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 Well, I mean, so I will say when I first came to New Culture Summer Camp, one of the biggest things that really held me there was the way that people very much encouraged to bring all facets of self. And as Sarah was saying, when you live in the woods with new people for 10 days, there's going to be stuff that comes up. And learning how to work through those scritchy parts and also those really excited parts together and stay grounded, that those are profound things. A story that I have about New Culture Summer Camp that was really important to me and really relates to the theme this year of power and rank is I took a break from New Culture Summer Camp and found some things that would make me feel more welcome as a gender diverse person. And so I took a couple years off and I came back to the organizing team and said, hey, I really love all the work that you're doing in all the ways, some of which Sarah has talked about. And also, here's something that I see that's missing that would help me feel more included, and also some people that I know who are like myself. And so I said, are you willing to look at these topics? And this was to the organizing team who are in a position of power. And me, I hadn't even been there for several years. And they welcomed me with open arms and said, okay, if you see a place where we're missing something, let's talk about how that is. Let's incorporate that into our structure. Let's make it a priority. So the concern of myself and bringing that forward was taken seriously. And I've seen a shift in the culture ever since. So talking about a way that power, I felt empowered, and how the people who seemed to be empowered to me at the time, in a way that I wasn't sure what the power structure was like, they incorporated that feedback, really showed me that this was an organization worth continuing to invest my time and energy into.
Thanks, Oblia. So one of the most beautiful experiences of my life was at New Culture Summer Camp 2016. And it was near the end of camp, and I felt this visceral love that overflowed out past my body, and I could feel it extend past, and it was a light and an acceptance for all 85 people at the camp that year. And it was reciprocated as well. It was as if I was in a field of love that my love was pouring into. And I got up into forum and shared to the community this love I was feeling, and I had this realization it wasn't too much. That wasn't too much joy. The fact that I had tears streaming down my face from the love I felt wasn't too much. And it was just so pure and beautiful, and it changed my life. I came home from camp and I felt withdrawal from love and touch and freedom. And I felt it for 2 days and thought to myself, I wish I could swim in love all the time. And something clicked and said, well, why can't I? Who said I can't? And that was when I left the external structures to come here.
So I've actually been trying to think, what was the key moment that convinced me, or that really moved me and resonated with me. And there've just been so many, it's so hard to choose. And I think something that happens just about every year is, when people show themselves under the surface, we can't help be in love with each other. I remember one year, this is one of the early years of the camp, where there was a person who he showed up to camp actually very angry about the work assignment he'd been given. We were giving work assignments in that time, and I was working registration, and I felt kind of intimidated by this person. He was upset, and I was like, I don't want to connect with him. And then later in the camp, he got up in the forum and he shared why that was the case. And the workshop he really, 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 really wanted to go to, and the reason he came to camp was this workshop, it was a Human Awareness Institute workshop on connecting, and he had never been able to make connections with other people. He didn't feel understood. And I realized that, he was a person who didn't read social cues and didn't quite get when people were bored with him and so on. And in the culture that we had, my heart opened to him, and we spent a whole evening in the takedown of camp just talking with him, strategizing with him about ways that he could, tell people, hey, I'm not going to read your social cues when you're bored, but maybe you can tell me in this way or that way. And I have to say that was a very stressful takedown year. There was a lot of emotionality among the people there. Some folks left, and the rest of us were like, oh, how do we do this big job? And he was like a rock, because the way he was, the emotions didn't impact him. We did a go-round, and everyone was saying, we were talking about the emotions, and when it was his turn, he said, well, there's a lot of turbulence. And I said, well, what does that mean to you? And he said, well, when I put my tools down, they're not there when I come back. So that emotionality was going right over his head because he wasn't reading the cues. And the impact of that was, I worked with him, I did a whole long work shift with him taking down tents, and it was the most beautiful and calm experience. There was no ego, and I would say, would you like to take down the tent? And he'd say, and he would say, how would you like to take down the tent? And I would say, and we would just, and then we'd think, and he'd say, no, I think your way's better, or no, I think my way's better, no ego. And he just turned out to be the most delightful person. So when people really open up and share who they are, it's so easy to love them. And if I hadn't allowed that to happen, if I hadn't had the space to see that, I would have just had a wall up against this person. So I'm so glad I don't anymore. So I think Zoe, who's here with us and helping with the technical aspects, would also like to share. You want to come up behind us? So Zoe, here's Zoe, who has a story about summer camp. And yes, we will. We are recording this to share later. So yes, you'll be able to, at some point, click on a link and see this. And now, Zoe, your story.
So what I like about new culture is, I think, being a choice. So the whole opening up doesn't happen because you're forced to. You just choose to do if you feel like, and if you don't feel, you can withdraw and be yourself. And I really felt like accepted. And the other thing that's I like our new culture is basically we do what makes sense and we don't do it doesn't make sense, and we talk about it. And it's a work in progress thing. It's not like, oh, we already know and we are the new culture people and we will teach you how to be. But we show something and everybody's inputs are welcome. So it's a co-created something. I don't know. I like it a lot.
Yay.
I came here.
Yeah,
So, yeah, Oblio has one more thing to say.
Yeah, I just really want to validate what I heard Zoe say, because actually that's something that's really important to me. And it's, again, talking about power and rank in the way that New Culture co-creates camp. So the folks who are leading it are skilled in particular areas, and they offer a space with their particular expertise, but really the experience is absolutely 100% co-created. And as a presenter myself, I never leave a New Culture camp. I never leave not a better presenter. I'm always a better presenter because I've been able to incorporate the feedback and ideas, and in this different diversity that we do have, how that touches and lands for each person, which makes it so that I can incorporate it so that next time I offer it, it can touch more and more and more people.
Yay.
And I want to highlight something that Zoe said is we do not have gurus. We don't have answers here. We have a lot of questions and ways that we think make sense to be in community and learn together, but we're always open to new ways. Innovation is valued as equal to tradition.
And along with that, we don't have like a rigid line between staff and campers. So we really feel we're all in this together. This is a co-creation. So the people who are putting this on are really, we're volunteers who took this into our hearts and decided we couldn't live without this. And the camps, you know, we participate in the camps as well as putting them on, and we invite you to do the same. So I think what I'd really like to do right now is show something. We are often a very cuddly group, and of course we always allow everybody to be completely at choice about that. We tend to ask for consent. Come around behind.
Yeah, we three have touch contracts, so we know where we like to be touched, but it's very important that we allow space for those to say yes and no to touch. So
in closing, we are just delighted to be here together and delighted to share this space with everyone who's on this call and everyone who might look at it in the future. And we hope to see some of you at the camp. And it's just, yay, it's just wonderful. If you need more information, www.cfnc.us. Okay, and we hope to see you at camp or one of our other events. Love you. Bye. Bye.